Welcome to the Startup Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Trutter. After over 800 plus successful dental startups, I'm here to share everything I know about starting a profitable and purposeful dental practice with you. Welcome back to the Startup Dentist Podcast. It is great to be back here. If you're thinking about practice ownership, and one of the big things is what happens even after the doors open, and preparing for those first 90 days, then definitely you want to listen to one of my most recent episodes where I had the director of the dental MBA here at Ideal Practices, Stacy Peters, on, and she talks through from her perspective and her team's perspective of what are those first 90 days. It's not just like and just opening your doors, but it's the preparing for those first 90 days. What does it feel like? What is it? What do you need to be doing? What do you need to be focused on? Things like your team, marketing efforts, the ground marketing, and really making sure that your practice launches. So you're going to get behind the scenes, under the hood look of like, what are those first 90 days? You're excited to be a practice owner. You're pumped. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm alone. I'm a practice owner. What is that mindset as well? So check out that most recent episode. Today, I've got a special guest. And you've heard this man's name many, many times. He is the Picasso of the dental industry. But today, we're going to be diving into floor plans. Now, unfortunately, on podcasts, we can't just do floor plans on the fly, and because there's a lot of science behind them. But you're going to get knowledge from a gentleman. His name is John Malone. We refer to him affectionately as the Picasso of the dental industry. 40 years of experience of doing floor plans. He's seen it all. He's done floor plans nationwide. So you're going to get a lot of depth, because what most people don't understand is floor plans aren't just lines on paper. So I'm kind of like giving you some foreshadowing. Most people think free floor plan. Let's just go do this. No, folks, you're going to understand like how the wrong floor plan can actually restrict growth for your new startup. So grab your notepad and let's make this dream practice of yours a living and breathing reality. All right. Welcome to the Startup Dentist Podcast, John Malone. John, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here.
Well, we are excited to hear from you as well. And in the process of supporting, Ideal Practices clients in their startup journey, John always has like the greatest job, because, the beginning stages we're talking about like, not fun things. It's like demographics, funding, real estate strategies, working through this. And then John he comes in with like fairy dust and sprinkles in fairy dust on the dentists and says, now we're going to make your floor plan. Yeah. And it becomes the visual depiction. So John's like the bragger. He's the dream maker of like taking a space or lines on a paper and making it a functional dental practice. So, John, you're the envy of Ideal Practices, because, you're the one that gets the visual. Doctors cry. You've had tears.
Yeah, I have tears. Doctors cry. They look at the existing building. So you go through the demographics, you go through all the lawyers, you go through the leases, and they say, I don't know what that's going to look like. And they say, okay, I guess this space is going to work. I don't know. And then all of a sudden we have our pre-designed call, and we go over things. We just talk about things. And then all of a sudden we do that virtual presentation, and I show them, okay, this is the existing conditions we're going to be working with. I said, and they're like, yeah, I know, I seen that. And all of a sudden I put this up on the screen, their dream office. And all of a sudden you just see them take a gasp of air, and they just, some have cried, a crying of joy, Stephen, but it's also a joy of release. They said, okay, now I see where I can do this. I can open up my own office. I've got a design now, and all that weight of where they were, where they're working right now, going through all those preliminary elements. Now all of a sudden it's starting to happen, and it's just
the manifestation of it now becomes like there's a physical thing, that there's a tangible, there's a visual thing, and I think that's important to understand is. There's a big hurdle of getting through the real estate. I always say this. People have heard me on the podcast. They've heard me on stage at our Startup Practice Blueprint. Like, real estate is the biggest hurdle of this entire process. God. Like, once you get through that, and there is like, once you can find that space, it's like, okay, we're almost half the battle done. And then get through that. But then this floor plan comes into play, because it becomes now like instead of a raw space, now there becomes a living and breathing element to this. And if you think about this, folks, you're designing your dental home. Like this outside of your own home. Like you're going to spend more time into this space. So that's why I always talk about like the importance of a floor plan, because it is a space for some of you that you'll be living in for the next 10, 15, or 20 years.
Steve, it's not only bricks and sticks. We design the walls, we design the ceiling, but the office, the design has to have a heartbeat to it. It's a living thing that, you got to feel like you want to come to work every day. Your team members, they want to come to work every day instead of have to go to work today. Your patients feel comfortable in this environment, and that's the difference in creating this environment for the team.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to go through some things here today, because I want to talk about like a number of topics when it relates to floor plans, the biggest mistakes that you've seen over 4 decades of doing this. We're going to talk about designing for the future, not just for the opening day. But let's start at the top here, John. Like I know it's kind of a broad topic. It's like, what's your approach to floor plans? And I know that's like so generic, but like I think everyone has different approaches, and I think there's a lot of different people to do floor plans. But like, man, what I love is like, there's such you are the greatest listener that I've ever met, because you listen to like what the doctor's dreams are, but there's also the reality that sets in when you go, yeah, that ain't going to work. And because that's a reality, there are things that won't work, but like, Tell our listeners, like, okay, your approach, like in how you approach.
Sure. Okay, let's use Design 101. All right, first thing to do, Stephen, is we look at the space. Now, remember, there has never been, if you're leasing a space, a pre-existing space, there has never been a space that is perfect for a dental office. Okay, right. There's always going to be some hiccups with it. All right. Yep. First thing we do is when our team sends the plan to me, I evaluate it and I say, okay, this space can work. I say, but just realize that there's only one entrance coming into the building. There's no team entrance. Can we have the availability of adding a team entrance? Something simple as that. Okay. Yep. Establish where the electrical panel is, columns, windows, doors, all those things. Look where the parking is. Okay. So we established the floor plan. We established the square feet of the building too. The lease might say it's this amount of square feet. Well, we validate exactly what the square feet is.
Yeah, because they're always right?
Yeah.
Right. They're always perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Folks, you understand, like, John looks at hundreds of floor plans in a year, and information that's like, floor plans are only as good as the information provided. So like, there are a lot of discrepancies, John, we've seen over years. Like when I was in the field doing things, it's like, hey, John, I remember a space down in St. Pete a few years ago. I remember I went to the space and he goes, there's got to be columns. I remember John's on the phone with me. He's like, there's got to be columns.
That's right. Yeah.
He goes, there's got to be 4 columns here. And I show up and I'm like, John, there's columns. He's like, how many? I go, there's 6. There weren't 4 even shown on the original floor plan from the landlord, let alone 6. Mm-hmm. So you think about like floor plan, information. It's important to understand like the information in order to get the best floor plan. It requires the best input. Output has to come from the input. So yeah. I love that.
After we look at the building, we say, okay, we're good to go. Talk with Kyle and Mike and said, all right, we're ready to go. Stephen and Mary, and everything looks good. Then we set up we send out to the client a design module where it lists, many questions, and architecture of dental offices, Stephen, have changed so significantly in just the past 5 years.
I know, that's amazing. You've said that before.
Yeah, it's amazing how the architecture of dental offices, because suites have gotten smaller because of the cost of construction and materials. Yep. So you can't afford that as big a building as used to just 5 years ago. So anyway, we send out this module where you as your doctor, you start looking at it and you think, oh my gosh, you never thought of doing it that way. So we're just giving you a bunch of options of doing it, because there's never a cookie cutter office. Stephen, you could send me a floor plan of a building, of a suite, and I could talk with the client on Monday, and I could talk with the doctor on Tuesday with the same building, and we'd have completely 2 different designs.
That's right.
So we have to establish what your prescription is. All right. So through this module, it will give you, and you'll see it's divided into 4 specific areas of public, administrative, clinical, and team areas. And there's a harmony and there's a balance between these 4 areas. So you fill out all that information, and there's other questions like, where you're working at right now. We do not want to take anything that is is not working in your existing office. I say, so let me know what you're not happy with, and then also share with me something that you enjoy having in your design. So we go with that, and then that sends back to me. Our team looks at those responses. We create our list of questions to about your answers, and then we set up a 2-hour conversation to review that. And everybody says, what could you talk about for 2 hours? Well, it's amazing. It's amazing. There's times you'll be laughing. There'll be times you'll be like in pondering. You'll be getting upset. There'll be times that you'll be just exuded that you're like, oh my God, this is actually happening. But we talk about those 4 specific areas. Again, public, administrative, clinical, and team areas. And there's those. That's the architecture of your dental office. Okay. And once we'll talk about when the patient enters the building. It's all about the patient experience. So when they get out of the car, these are all new patients. Remember, these patients are coming to you because they weren't happy with where they were going.
That's right.
All right. So they're opening up that door and say, okay, I'm going to experience the same thing as I did at this doctor. It's just a different personality. No.
Love that.
You want to change that experience they're going to have from when they lock their car, they walk in, okay, what am I going to experience? They open that door. And what do they experience? So we talk about the public area, how the patient is greeted, how they're looking into this guest lounge, how they feel relaxed, and how they're being invited back into the clinical area. And we talk about the new patient experience. Now remember, these are all new patients, and you may want to make an impact on them.
That's right.
Want to talk the first impression and how you're doing office tours, how you're talking, bringing them into the consultation when talking to them. We go through all this of how again, the heartbeat of the office, how they're greeted and how they've gone through an office tour, how they're brought into the consultation room, and we talk to them a little bit. And a new patient comes into a dental office in today's office, Stephen. They're thrown into a dental chair. They start taking pictures and putting sharp instruments in their mouth. They don't know them. They don't know you, the doctor. So we want to make that easy direction as coming in, opening up the door, and actually feel comfortable in this office.
Yeah, I love that.
So
I think everyone, if you're listening here, folks, like what you just heard is like a very Cliff's Notes version of like this process of a floor plan. And you could tell, I'll just say this, there's a science to floor plans, which kind of leads me to some of my next questions is like, John, like it's not just lines on paper. And there is in reality, like the wrong floor plan can actually constrict production, right? Like talk through like, again, you can't just take a floor plan and say that this because the bathroom fits there doesn't mean it flows there.
Yeah.
I mean, no pun intended when it comes to bathroom and flows. And by the way, we could talk through we'll talk through like where to place bathrooms. We can talk through that.
Oh yeah, we talk. It's a big impact.
That's right. So talk about like production, how it can be sabotaged in some realities in terms of floor plans. This is kind of from a high level perspective. And I think this is like a good perspective for people to understand is floor plans are a science. Don't get a free floor plan because it may not align for you. It may not align for your patient. But the other thing is like, how will this affect your bottom line in some cases?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, Stephen, when you get those free floor plans, they're basically Tetris plans. Okay. Now, that's what they do is they equipment specialist sends it.
That piece fits there, so here you go.
That's right. Let's put this here. Let's put that there. That all fits together. Okay, good. Send it to the doctor. It's a cookie cutter office. Let's send it to him. Like I said, we have that 2-hour design consultation meeting, and we establish what your vision is. There's no cookie cutter design for that. Okay, we find out, again, this doctor might like that. This doctor doesn't like this. So it all fits together. So that the lines on the plan are basically like Tetris. They just fit all the parts together. And that's not the way you establish a design. You have to.
Because distance between like, is it like, in other words, like, is it like travel distance from this point to this point, from this patient to this patient? That affects production, right?
It certainly does. And it has to do with where we establish the administrative area, Stephen, and relationship. I mean, if the building is very long as a long rectangle, the distance from treatment number like 7 to the administrative area is, like maybe 70, 80 feet. Okay, so the time distance it takes from that to go. So your payment transactions may have to be treated differently when we have a design that way. Okay, so we establish on how you want to do payment transactions in your office. So again, it's not only the architecture of the office, it's also the practice management of it also, of how the
Yeah.
relationship is of the clinical team members with the administrative team members. So we don't make sure. So it's not just lines on a plan. It's not just like, okay, let's throw as many treat rooms in there as we can. Okay, let's sell the equipment and here's your free floor plan. Okay.
Yeah.
It's much different. It's much different. So.
Yeah, and you think about like the time it takes. So time is money in a dental office. So like if there's a travel distance now we can't. Not every space is perfect, but like you mentioned, like we always say this, like squares are better than rectangles when it comes to floor plans in terms of how they lay out. Yeah. Now, again, folks, I don't want everyone to go out and be like, okay, I'm looking for a square space because Stephen and John on the startup dentist podcast said I just need a square space. But folks, square spaces just lay out better. Long rectangular spaces are challenges when it comes to layout, and that could help productive. So again, that doesn't mean like pigeonhole yourself into square spaces. It just means like, hey, there is a flow thing that is there.
Well, in any plan, there's no perfect floor plan, but I just accept that challenge, Stephen. I just like give me, all right, go ahead, challenge me, and I just prove you that we can make this into a vision. And we do have not compromises, but we do have solutions. That's a proper word, solutions. Yeah. If we do have an issue with a particular building, we have an answer for you. We have a solution for you to make you more productive and make your team members so they're not running out of breath, running back and forth, so they can turn the room over quicker. So there's always solutions for all these problems we have. After 45 years and 7,000 dental offices, there's nothing we can't accomplish for you.
Yeah, folks, there you go. There's the brag moment right there. And it's a humble brag. And by the way, it's warranted. 45 years and 7,000 floor plans underneath this belt. Mm-hmm. He's kind of seen it. And you mentioned even earlier, and I don't want to go backwards, but I would say like floor plans have changed. And that's why I love is like you have changed.
I have changed every day, every time.
And that's why I love is like, folks, people think like, man, John, 45 years. It's like, is he designing to what? He's not. You're not designing the same way you were 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
Because dentistry has changed.
Oh, it has.
And how the approaches have changed. So I think everyone's kind of you're listening. It's like you're hearing science here, folks. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this kind of dovetails off of production, case acceptance and floor plans. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. How is case acceptance impacted by a floor plan, John? Like, really?
Again, the plan has a heartbeat to it, Stephen. Okay. Yeah. So when you're in this office, you have to have that feeling that you have trust in the doctor and the team with their oral health. Okay. The design is designed so that they feel comfortable. Again, they open that door for the first time and they say, okay, wow, this is different. I feel more relaxed here. I don't have the stress. I went through an office tour. The doctor's concerned about me. He's not putting sharp instruments in my mouth. And and something is simple. And this gets overlooked a lot of times, is the width of hallways, Stephen. Oh. Everybody cheats on square feet to get as much production per square feet, which I like. That, you want to have as much production per square feet. I mean, this is a business.
Right.
But something simple as a hallway, not being wide enough so you and I could walk past each other without turning our bodies. Okay, something as simple as that. So you and I walking back to the treatment room, you're the doctor, I'm the patient. We can walk shoulder to shoulder and we're not bumping into each other in anything. We feel comfortable. It's all in human proportion. So that's important. And then also where the consultation room is located, how the consultation room is set up, how the administrative area is set up. So, people hearing different conversations and people standing next to each other that they don't know. You want to make everybody feel comfortable with that. So there's a lot of science as far as how a patient, what they're going to feel. And remember, Stephen, in a dental office, your senses are attacked. You're attacked when you go into the dental office, from your hearing to your sight to your tactile feel. Everything is being attacked.
Smell.
It's exactly. Does it smell like a dental office? What do you hear? Do you hear that handpiece running? We have great solutions of eliminating that handpiece noise coming from the clinical area to the public area. So there's all kinds of solutions that make this feel. In the nutshell, what this does, Stephen, it makes you feel more relaxed. You have confidence in the doctor. You have trust in the doctor. What he or she says, you listen to and you accept.
Yeah.
So then your patient acceptance is a lot is numerously more accepted.
Yeah, and you think about like the aesthetics of the space obviously affect that as well, in terms of the environment, because most people are anxious going to a dentist. They're
Well,
anxious going to a dental practice. And what most people don't understand is the aesthetic design, the materials you have in the practice and the furniture, none of that is there unless you have a floor plan that allows for it to be a part of that. So the floor plan for everybody is like, it is level one. And there's all these other layers that stack on top of this floor plan.
It's the foundation.
It's the foundation. You got your architectural plans. You have your mechanical, your MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans. You've got your specification plans from your equipment company. You've got then, the ceiling, reflective ceiling plan from your architect. So folks, like, the floor plan is the foundation for all these other plans to be a part of that. So if this doesn't get right, you've got a wonky space.
You've got a wonky space, and you spend all this money on the decorations, the finishes, and everything. Well, if you get that free Tetris plan, and it's a poorly designed office, it's going to cost the same amount of money to build that office as it does a well-designed office. Okay, so you got it for free. Yes, you haven't got it for free, but does it work with your prescription? Work with your vision? No, it's a cookie cutter plan. And sure, you put lipstick on a pig, and it looks beautiful. But then all of a sudden, when you're in your sterilization, where team members are bumping into each other and spilling trays all over the place, and when it's all backed up with all your trays, and you're not sterilizing, and your administrative area, people feel uncomfortable standing next to somebody they don't know. They're in the guest lounge, and all of a sudden there's not enough chairs with that they stand or wait out in their car for their appointment.
Thing.
It's a free plan. It's a Tetris plan, but was it well thought out? And it's going to cost the same to build that building. The 2x4s and the wiring is going to cost the same to build that building as it does a well-designed building.
That's right. Yeah, a free floor plan, folks, you don't save anything. You lose. Don't take the free floor plan.
Yeah.
So perfect segue into. Oh, this could take a while, though. Like, biggest mistakes, and listen, that you've seen in years. But I don't want to be totally negative. But folks, these are the things we want you to avoid, the hurdles, because of what we've seen. And I'll say one to start off with, which is this. One of the things that I see, and people have heard this. If you've read my book, The Startup Dentist, if you've heard me on Facebook, if you've heard me on this podcast, is the peanut gallery. And the peanut gallery are those well-intentioned people that could be close to you, whether they're friends, they could be actually, or just people in general that are giving you advice. Well-intentioned advice, but it doesn't apply to you. It's like they're just throwing peanuts at you to be able to say, hey, I have an idea. And this is what happens in floor plans.
It happens all the time, Steve.
I see it on Facebook. People post their floor plans and go, hey, everybody, what do you think about my floor plan? All right, folks, you're going to get 65 comments. 65 of them don't matter.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter because people are going to comment based upon that. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is like this public, give me the public intervention of floor plans. And folks, you're going to get derailed because what nobody knows, I don't even want to comment on those posts because I don't know anything about the space. I don't know anything about your vision. I don't know. Are you a pediatric dentist? Are you an ortho? Are you peri? I don't know anything about what's the zoning situation. I don't know anything. Is there a fire riser somewhere in the middle of the space? I don't know where the location of the electrical panel is to be able to comment on your floor plan from something posted on Facebook. So folks, by doing that, you're opening yourself up to actually derailing your progress. Have people in your corner that know floor plans, that know your space, not public.
Your space, your space and know you. Remember, we have that module we send out. You fill that out. We have our 2-hour conversation, and we find out a lot about things. You can find out about how you have kids, if you bring your pets to your office, all kinds of things. Okay, so we're finding out things that nobody else is experiencing, have any knowledge about. So
was that somebody calling about their floor plan, John?
They were
waiting for that floor plan.
They were. I'm sorry, folks.
John, where's my floor plan?
No, it's not so much a floor plan. It's probably the peanut gallery, Stephen, that they're saying, "Oh, I showed this to my
Yes.
friend, and they said I should do this now
Oh,
because they did this in their office." Well,
oh,
tell me, doctor, is it the same type style of office? Is it the same building? No, they have a square building, and I have a rectangle. Oh, this doesn't work in a
right.
rectangular building when you have a square. So I said, this is why they did it. I said, do you realize how significantly the architecture of dental offices have changed in the past 5 years? And this is 10 years old. They're giving you information from 10 years
Yes.
ago. Do you realize that? Oh, but it works for them. Yes, but it works for them. But is it going to work for you?
Right.
No.
And by the way, folks, here's what happens behind the scenes when this does happen. It happens every once in a while here with some clients from time to time. It now becomes a 4 to 5 day process of like talking through how the challenges are, showing why it's good. And it's like, we're not, listen, I'll quote the great John Malone. We don't have to be right. We just want to make it right.
Exactly.
You said that to me.
Yes.
You said when you and I have known each other for almost 20 years, and that was something, it's like, that's what John says. We don't have to be right, but we have to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is like, then it kind of like everything kind of unfurls behind there where it's like, I have this one idea. And I think the other thing that people don't understand, and this is a big mistake, when by changing one spot,
one element.
Can you make this room a little bit bigger? Yeah, sure, we can make that room bigger, but the 5 other rooms now are affected behind it.
Yeah, it's like
kind of like in a lease.
It's like
legal. It's like legal. It's like your lease. If you change section A, does section A affect B through L?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with floor plans, folks. Like you change a wall, it changes the dynamic of the space, right, John?
Well, it's like ortho, Steve. It's like ortho. Yeah. You move one tooth, it has an impact on all the other teeth.
Brilliant.
Okay, so you move that. Okay, yeah, we can move that, but this is the result of doing that change. And Stephen, I go through this all the time. I get all the peanut gallery, all these information comes back to me, and then we go through maybe some different iterations of it, and because the doctor says, "Why I have to see it?" I say, "Okay, we'll do it this way."
Yeah.
We come to the final and says, "John, we looked at the design. We're going to go with our first plan. We're going to go with our first design."
I think that's where most people go.
Yeah.
I remember when I got married. So it's now been 21 years since I've been married. And I remember this because the dress that my wife, Megan, got married in was the first dress she tried on. Did she try on 5 or 6 more afterwards? Yeah. But it was like, but I knew number one was that one. Mm-hmm. It always goes back to number one, I think, when it comes to floor plans, because we understand, hey folks, we're not saying no. What we're saying is like, sometimes most people, John, you know how it is. This is a visual thing. You have to see how that works within that space, mm-hmm. And I think that's really super, important to understand. Like, people are well-intentioned about the advice when it comes to floor plans, even if it's been recent or in a similar size space or a friend of yours. But just be wary of where the advice it could lead you. It could derail progress, and it could cause some challenges. What are some other mistakes that you've seen?
ABBA, not the musical team, ABBA.
ABBA. Okay.
Above, below, and adjacent. When you get your suite, you have to establish who's above you, who's below you, and who's adjacent to you.
Love that.
ABBA. All right. So you have to know who your neighbors are. And the realtors and the owner, they say, okay, we can put you in here. We can put you in here. Okay. How is the sewer in this place? How is the drain line? Okay.
Yes.
Well, do I have like a music studio next to me? Well, we're not going to put our treatment rooms there. Do I have a daycare center next to me? I'm not going to put the treatment rooms there. Do I have a restaurant next to me? I'm going to hear the kitchen right next to me. You have to establish who your neighbors are.
I mean, I love Thai food, but you want Thai food smelling in your office all day long?
Yeah, exactly. And then who's below you? I mean, are you able to put utilities through the floor for your office? And who's above you? So.
Yeah, 100%. John, this is this is even a real estate topic in some cases because it's important. And I have a couple stories here where I remember I was in the Northern Virginia area for a number of years, and like one of the big things there was below. And you think about Northern Virginia and the DC area, defense contractors, folks, they ain't letting you in to tie in plumbing lines. It ain't happening.
It's not going to happen.
It just doesn't happen.
No.
And, you know, like I remember we've had clients and I'm like, I had like not really PTSD, but because I don't want to, you know, obviously downplay what that is, but I had a recurring memory one time of a client here at Ideal Practice a few years ago that was in Northern Virginia. And we're getting ready to leave the building. Now, I hadn't been there in a number of years. And I remember walking out of the building and all of a sudden I had this memory and I go, hey, before we leave this building, the dentist was going to be like on the second or third floor, and there was, you know, spaces, you know, kind of multi-tenant building. I said, who's below this space?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the agent was there, and he goes, yeah, let me look that up. He's like, da-da-da-da. I'm like, what did they do? And he goes, I think they're like in defense. I go, there's no way we're not getting in this space because they're not going to allow access. They've got important federal government documents and things like that. Mm-hmm. I think the smell thing is also like when it comes to floor plans. Now, John did something special a few years ago. Do you remember? Remember we had a change of space. It was in Houston. His name was Dr. Mike. And we had to like wrap the space around. And on the other side was like one of those like fast serve, like Pizza Hut type places. And you stuck another treatment room on that back side. But obviously the pizza oven was probably there and things like that. And I remember what Dr. Mike did. And I think it was talking with you. You're like, hey, go over there, and any patient that uses that room, you give them like a certificate for like one of those small personal pan pizzas. So, like, folks, there's a lot of things you can do when it comes to floor plans.
One way, you got to synchronize yourself or establish yourself with the community, make yourself part of the community, so you're all working together for sharing clients and patients. So it's all.
Any other big mistakes that you've seen over the years?
Not having that second entrance coming into your office. I mean, that's an expensive one. Not having a contractor go out there and making sure they have enough electrical power and where the electrical power is coming into your building. You know, you don't want that on your lease. You don't want to be paying for that.
Good point.
We had a big P2 office we did, Stephen, and there was a big discussion about or issue with the water coming in. Because there was so many sinks in this, they added like 1.25 inch water line coming to the office, which is not practical for a dental office. So there's a lot of things. Parking. Make sure you look at your parking. You know, where your patients are going to come into your suite. That could be a big mistake. If they have to walk in inclement weather in the middle of wintertime in the Northeast and like in Boston, and they have to walk a good distance to get to your office, they're going to say, oh man, I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to cancel this procedure. All right. So you really have to look at how, again, it's got to have a heartbeat. You got to think of the people that are going to be in this structure.
That's right.
Yeah.
If they have to walk uphill in the snow both ways
to practice, they're going to cancel their appointment. You know, they're going to cancel that crown that you have planned for 2 hours. And what do you?
I think the other thing too, John, we were into a few things where I think one thing, like I'll just kind of make this a short topic, which is don't do it yourself, folks. Like, don't think you're a floor plan designer unless you've done it thousands of times, because back to just because you want to say, can I move my bathroom here to there, doesn't mean like the entire integrity of the rest of that space has now been compromised. Your floor plan has been compromised at that point. And like when we're at our course, Startup Practice Blueprint, John sits down and talks through like the integrity of the space, not like integrity as we think about as a person, but integrity of the floor plan itself. And don't take it on yourself and think like, hey, it's Tetris and it can go in here and that it can work. Windows, John, I'm throwing a curveball, but you know this, like climate, like people don't understand like, hey, this is going to be great. Ever been in Arkansas in the middle of the summertime? I live in Florida. Like, where do windows face? You could have a patient baking in there if you got west facing versus east facing or south. Well, everyone wants windows, John. Everybody wants, most people do anyway. Most people want natural light in their space. Mm-hmm. That's great, but windows and treatment rooms don't play well together all the time, right?
They don't always marry up. Now we have solutions for it, okay. But of course, you know how artists use the northern light when they're painting. Okay, so when you're matching shades, you want to be in the north or northeast windows to coupling those two together. And, again, there's not a perfect dental office. So suppose all your windows are on the west and south side, and you're going to use them to celebrate those windows. So you just have to realize, though, in the middle of the winter time is because of the sun orientation is when you get these rooms cook up, and they heat up.
Yes.
So that's where you have to make sure we work with the proper window covering or some kind of shade to eliminate that direct light direct heat coming in January and February. So
that's right.
Yeah, there's all kind of solutions for this, but you really have to just be aware. Okay, you want your treatments here, but just understand you're going to have to do this to eliminate that issue with the sun orientation. So it's something.
Well, maybe that's the reason why it's so great here for me, because I'm north facing in my window here. If everyone can see me here, maybe that's the reason why I have this glow. You said north facing,
that's right. You're probably established that way. Yeah. You see my lighting.
Very well played out for our podcast.
Yeah, I'm facing the wrong direction here with my windows. I had to shut the shades because of the reflection I was getting, because my office is orientated incorrectly for working with the natural sunlight.
Good.
But hey, when
designing for the future. So, John, designing for the future, not just for opening day. Talk through that. So, I think everyone needs to understand, your floor plan is not just for today; it's for a future. So,
when we have that conversation, that 2-hour conversation in your mind, you could just tell. I said, just give me the key. I want to open this up. I just got it. And then they say, I said, remember, when you open up this office, there's going to be 3 employees. And you are one of them. There's you, the administrative person, and the clinical person. Okay.
Yep.
So when we're discussing your design, your vision, and everything, and I heard them all to say, "Well, eventually I'm going to do that, but not right now." I said, "Well, eventually you're going to do that." Okay. So we look at this design as if you're going to have, a few years from now, you're going to have all the rooms equipped. You're going to have all the equipment. How are things going to be established? I mean, you're going to have balance in your design already right from the start. So there's plenty of chairs in the guest lounge area. There's sterilization. It's seamlessly running. So there's a 5-step process, and the team members can just run through the sterilization area. Okay, we find out, eventually, are you going to be doing any ortho? A lot of pedo doctors, some like to do ortho. Well, let's make sure you might not. You might need a cephalometric X-ray. Okay, and we have to design around that. Let's talk about laboratory. Laboratory has changed so much in the past 10 years. We were doing a lot, then we weren't doing any. Now we're doing a lot of technology. So you have 3D printing, you're milling, all that has to take into consideration. When we're talking to them, we're imbuing the confidence in them during our conversation, Steve, that they are going to be successful, and we want to make sure that the office reflects that success.
100%.
So we really want to make sure. And when they come out of that 2-hour conversation, they have a wholly different concept of what they're doing. They want to have that confidence. They have that confidence now that they can achieve their vision. And then the design reflects that.
Wise words. Very wise words. Folks, thinking towards the future, what is that going to change? What are your clinical needs going to change? And then having that space be available to you, because what you open with today as a startup, as a new practice owner, you're going to grow. More people are going to be in that space. So you have to factor that in. Not just how can I shove 10 chairs into 1,000 square feet, because that's not going to work. In even areas like your reception area, your guest lounge, if you will, it needs to accommodate future patients that are going to be in that space. And I think that the additional technology of where labs are today with 3D printing, all those things, it's a big thing that has to be factored in today in your floor plan, because what you don't want to do in 3 years is okay, now I want to move walls. Can't do it. So this is the thought, folks, that goes into this. Is what John's brain goes through time and time again, hundreds of times a year, working with clients on that floor plan, which is not just what works today, but what does this look like for you tomorrow, 5 years from today, and making sure that floor plan can accommodate your growth, but also grow with you. And that way you can have the production that's there. So
everything from the administrative area can handle the amount of people coming in and out of the office to where are you going to put your associate? Do you want your associate in your private office? I don't know. I really don't think so.
Exactly.
Well, we have to establish a place for your associate, because they have to work somewhere. So we have to establish a place for them. We have to, and most especially, I said the architecture of dental offices has changed, Stephen. The administrative area has changed so significantly. And
it's going to change.
We have great solutions.
5 years from today, it'll be different. We'll be talking differently.
I'll be talking differently. Sure. Yep, exactly.
Yep, love it. Hey, John, love for you. Thank you so much sharing that wisdom, guys. Like, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to capture this much knowledge in a short period of time, and to get John here, during his busy time of working with clients, John, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom. I mentioned something here, like if you want to learn more about floor plan design and you actually want to meet with the great John Malone, come to our next upcoming Startup Practice Blueprint course. It's a 2-day course, immersive. You're in a room of other like-minded associates that want to know how to properly launch their startup practice. You could register at startuppracticeblueprint.com. John is there. Yeah. He's there for 2 days. It's almost like, when comedians go out, like, I'll be at I'll be at so-and-so over the weekend. Like, John's coming up here soon. We've got 2 days. You'll be able to sit down with John, understand the philosophies, talk about like what you're thinking about from a floor plan. You'll get firsthand experience. So, John, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. I could talk to you about this stuff for days.
I know you can. I know. I love it.
This is great stuff.
So go to Startup Practice. So go to startuppracticeblueprint.com, register for our next upcoming course to connect with John and so many great other industry experts across all 13 stages of our startup process. So, all right, folks, that is a wrap on the topic of the science of floor plans. Don't forget to check the show notes for any and all links and resources we talked about today. Next time, we are going to dive into quitting your associate job, more of the mental journey of taking that leap to becoming a practice owner. I'm going to have a special guest, an Ideal Practices client that is taking that leap. She's just doing awesome. You're going to hear her journey and really even the mindset of like, taking that leap and saying, I'm going to leave my associate job. So we'll see you there. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
As we wrap up this episode, take a moment to picture yourself a year from now. Are you still in your associateship, or are you rocking it at your own dental practice, creating beautiful smiles and making a real difference? If that's the dream, it's time to chase it. Before we split, make sure to hit subscribe. Drop a review and give us your rating. It helps us keep bringing you the good stuff that you're into. Until we meet again, keep taking that next step towards your future practice. Here's to investing in your dreams and making them a reality.